it's an opportunity or time for organizations and maybe society to give back to youth, but then again, how do youth want to be given back to?
Something to get more youth actually engaged in the community and doing different things. Like, I just feel like that's the main goal of it.
So many youth are disengaging from the world as a whole or from anything that needs to make change. And so if we want to bring them back in and make them feel like we think their ideas are worth something, that they actually have something to contribute to society, not in 20 years, but now, like, that's so important.
Kia ora everyone, we're really excited to have another beautiful session of Team Talk with my wonderful friends over here, our lovely youthy and busy and exciting people. How's everyone doing today?
I'm doing good.
It's been good. The weather is surprisingly holding out. I think it's going to get cold again soon.
Yes, it's getting colder. I'm doing good as well. Thank you.
How are we all feeling about Youth Week?
Actually, I was surprised there's like Youth Week in New Zealand. I thought it's only we at Voice for Aha do Youth Week, but yeah, I'm not sure about Youth Week.
I think it's because we make it shine so much that people think it's just a Voice of Aroha thing. I think it's so cool that we celebrate it in New Zealand. Like, what do you mean? We have a whole week, like, celebrating the young people, uplifting them, talking about all the cool things they do, putting on events for them. That's, like, epic.
Yeah, actually, it's a really good idea. No, it's just a good reminder that they are important. They are the future. So we're celebrating them, and it's very nice.
Well, I guess it's like we've got Mother's Day, we've got Father's Day, we've got kind of various days like celebrating people. But so why not youth in particular? Yeah, makes sense.
point.
What are your thoughts on Youth Week, Carlos?
I also didn't know about Youth Week, and I thought it was just a Voice of Aroha thing as well. But yeah, I'm really excited.
I'd never heard of Youth Week either until I think probably arriving in Wellington maybe in 2020, but I think there was not much Youth Week celebration in Gisborne where I'm from. But yeah, it's kind of bigger city things. But yeah, but I'm surprised you never seen anything at Newlands College about Youth Week.
I might have. I probably just didn't pay attention.
I don't think they advertise it, like, at all, as far as I'm aware. I don't think I knew about it till last year or the year before, and that's because I was invited to events at Youth Week.
How did you get involved with Youth Week stuff?
I was really lucky last year. I was involved with as we've talked about, the Te Tai Ohinga Youth Advisory Group, which is making the new youth hub in Wellington. That was such a cool opportunity. And while we were doing that, a couple of us got the opportunity to go to the Youth Week, the big opening of Youth Week. They have at Parliament every year, which was so cool. Got to go with Krishna and Arpith from the crew, and hearing the Minister for Youth speak, which I think it's really cool to remember that we do actually have a Minister for Youth. We got to hear the Race Unity speech winner speak, who was amazing. She is such a gorgeous speaker. And it was just such a cool opportunity to meet so many other young people. Like, there was so many young people and, like, young people mentoring young people there. But it was kind of crazy that there was this huge event at Parliament for something I had never heard about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think they celebrate the same way in Auckland as well and other big cities, or is it just?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know, but I probably don't think so. I think Wellington's pretty good when it comes to it, especially with the whole, I think we are the official National Youth Week opening, the one that is here in Wellington, because it's through Aotearoa. And yeah, I guess it depends lots of youth organisations, I think, put their own events on, especially volunteer organisations like Voice of Aroha. Because I know there's a ton of events happening within the city centre this week at Te Tai Ohinga and other places. Are there any other cool events anyone knows of that are happening?
I was checking out the page earlier, and I know there are a bunch of things. There's a whole calendar on their website. If you look up Youth Week New Zealand, there's a calendar of everyone puts up whatever volunteer organisations or whoever's doing an event. They've got a calendar. We can see them all. I can't remember many off the top of my head, apart from Youth for Climate Action, which everyone will be going to or hearing about later on Saturday, 24th of May. Yeah.
Yes.
That would be a cool one.
Yeah. It's going to be very cool. It's such an awesome opportunity. And I think seeing the passion that Luca has for it, because it happened for the first time last year with Arthi, our wonderful Arthi running it. And she founded the event as itself, or the organisation. And then Luca taking over from her this year was so cool. And last year, it was in a small room in a small community centre down in Jabil with 20 of us. And this year we're going to be I think we're aiming for about 100
Oh, wow,
at Te Tai
nice.
Ohinga with like proper keynote speakers. I think we're trying to get Tamitha Paul and a bunch of other people coming in to talk. It's just going to be, it's so cool to see how things like this evolve when passion is behind it, especially I think the passion of youth. Luca, the message Luca and the team want to put out there is really cool. I'm outreach manager for it this year, which has been really cool.
Ooh.
So I have been emailing all the schools in Wellington.
Gosh, wow, yeah.
It's really, this is a real sidetrack, but schools are really bad at advertising the emails they have. I have to like go searching through their website for their office email, like, and I'm like, do you want people coming and inquiring about the things they want? Maybe not.
Even I remember when I was at school trying to get, I think I did, what is it called? My brain's completely blanking. Sorry.
Like what?
EnviroSchools, yeah, it was EnviroSchools. I did EnviroSchools, and we're trying to get we made my school an EnviroSchool, and we're trying to get various local environmental organisations to come in and kind of do workshops and stuff like that. Like we did beeswax workshops, we did a whole bunch of different activities. But I remember various local environmental coordinators working with like our deputy or trying to work with our deputy principal, and we'd kind of signed everything off and was sort of like, oh, cool, good to go. And then the deputy principal was kind of like, oh, we don't want that. Like, we don't want, and they were really, and especially as I became kind of, we did more and more of it. Like one of the opportunities was getting the council to come teach all the students how to do fresh water testing, because we've got a river right next to our school, and so part of our project was restoring this river and trying to improve its like the mana everything of the Awa, which was just it was a very sad river. And the school was just like, or the deputy principal at least was just like, no, we don't want that. Why would we want our students engaging in science? And some of that was
tragic.
really strange. But I think probably that was about resourcing time, kind of worries of sustainability of the project in the future, or just too much hassle. But I guess it's a lot of, even though a lot of schools have good intentions, sometimes it's very hard to get through actually bringing those cool opportunities into schools. But hopefully you've had better luck.
Well, I was literally asked today, you know, Mr. McMillan, he like came up to me and he asked me, Meg, like I've been directed to you by someone else. Do you know if we're in Enviro school? And I like had to actually think about it, like, wait, we're not. We have no programs running. We have no Enviro club. We used to have proper recycling systems, and I don't think we do anymore. And like, I'm like, we have so many passionate climate activists at school. I think it's interesting when we compare a lot of people, when we're in primary school and stuff, there's all that focus on the low level things. Like there's a lot of focus on tree planting and that kind of stuff. And as we're growing up, the focus goes away from that. But I think it would be really cool to bring some of that stuff back in, like building environmental mindsets within your community where you're thinking about the climate and stuff. Did you ever grow up with anything like tree planting, that kind of thing?
I haven't, no. But yeah, I love it in New Zealand. I've seen like lots of students doing that, and like part of the school activity. Yeah, and I love the idea of it. Like it's really engaging and nice. And I love gardening. I do that at my garden, so.
Oh, I wish I liked gardening. I hate bugs so much. It's like my mum tries to get me in the garden to do weeding all the time, and as soon as a spider crawls on my hand, I'm out. The gloves are off and I'm gone.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's like, it's a surprisingly like intensive, dirty, like takes a lot of strength gardening and all this stuff as well. I'm like, my goodness.
If you want to get something out by the root, you got to really put your pedal in it. What about you, Carlos? Did you have anything? Because we went to different like primary schools and stuff.
Yeah, so our school, I mean, we did have gardening club, and the same teacher who ran gardening club had like this thing called nude food, where they just tried to get everyone to not bring any lunch with like plastic wrap or any sort of disposable packaging or anything. So it's like your class got points, so each nude food would get you 1 point, I think. And then if you had a whole lunchbox with 0 waste, that was like 5 extra points. And we had competitions, and like our class was actually really good. We were really good at getting those points, but it was mostly just to like reduce litter around the school, because we just had that problem where people would just like litter. Like you just see like chip packets and things like that where they wanted to get rid of that, so they
That's
started.
such a cool way to actually engage with the students though, and make it like making a competition, making it a cool thing. That was always a rule for me growing up. I was not allowed plastic in my lunchbox. But I think that's kind of the only ones we ever really stuck to. But you think that's such an easy way to make an effective change. coming back to Youth Week, I think a lot of Youth Week is about like, while we're celebrating, we're looking at the change you can make, but also celebrating youth, right? Is there any, I wonder, how do we think we could celebrate youth more? Like, what do we think Youth Week wants to achieve? What do you think, Rata?
Well, I think it's a really good question. It's like kind of what are the outcomes we're wanting, and what exactly are we celebrating? Like with Mother's Day, Mother's Day or Father's Day, we're just kind of celebrating, wanting to celebrate. Oh, it's we want to recognize, I guess, the hard work that mothers and fathers and things do, and also have a way to give back to them, I guess. And so, typically, and especially in New Zealand, kids, and they'll probably be, wrangled by their teachers to write a card for their parents or things like that, or do some nice kind way of giving back to your parents. And so, I guess it's an opportunity or time for organisations and maybe society to give back to youth, but then again, how do youth want to be given back to is a different question of like what do they actually want to be celebrated, because like for parents it might be it's not, youth probably don't need, and we're not seeing breakfast in bed for youth everywhere by by their parents. We're seeing ways for we're seeing different things, and so I guess the question, what would you guys as youths want to be celebrated for, or how would you want people or society in general to give back to you guys?
Carlos?
I mean, I wouldn't mind breakfast in bed.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I think just anything because Youth Week, I feel like, I mean, I didn't know about it until this year. So if it was just something to get more youth actually engaged in the community and doing different things, like, I just feel like that's the main goal of it, just getting youth, because a lot of youth right now, people our age, are like stressed about studying, stressed about so many different things, and it's just like a week where they can just get together.
No exams, no.
Not to have students.
It's just cool how like Mother Day, like is like usually it's like the family celebrating their mom, but with youth it's like you can't celebrate the individual. You're just like aiming groups of youth and celebrating them. The way we celebrate them is different. I'm hitting this a lot, sorry. Yeah, so it's just different way of celebrating. It's actually when I think about it, it's just like a little bit complicated, but it's very nice to have it and yeah, the good question. That's how youth want to be celebrated. It's very cool to know it.
I think if I was to like align it with a different celebration, I think of like International Women's Day. We were celebrating like a huge community of people, like a huge, 50% of the world's population. But you think about it, it's also recognising the reason we need a Youth Week specifically is because youth is an undervalued sector of our society. Like, in terms of policy, in terms of decision making, in terms of actually thinking the quality of people's ideas, youth are so often discredited. I really liked what you said before, Sahar, about this is the next generation, like this is who we're handing the world off to. And that's often something we say with like climate talk, right? But I think it should be for everything. Like this is genuinely, so many youth are disengaging from the world as a whole or from anything that needs to make change. And so if we want to bring them back in and make them feel like we think their ideas are worth something, that they actually have something to contribute to society, not in 20 years, but now, like that's so important. And I think when we look at like election turnouts, when you look at that kind of stuff, that is all about getting the youth back engaged.
Brilliant points, Meg. I really agree. I think it's really good comparison with Women's Day, and I guess also like Women's Day is partly a celebration of the rights that women have, and that also they fought very hard for themselves. And so in some ways, I can kind of see Youth Week quite similarly to that, where it's like youth have struggled a lot and inherited a lot of problems from, I guess, their voices being heard or even their rights, and their rights being kind of disrespected. If you look at kind of right to inherit, the right to live in a clean world, the right to be able to live without danger and things like that. And it's a time really where we can give youth the stage and give them the platform and say, actually, you can lead now. You've already got lots of ideas. You've got the wisdom, and actually, use the rights that we know you should have and can have, and actually let them have that, and really platform it as well and amplify kind of the perspectives of, oh look, they are leaders. You already are leaders, and how can we actually listen to you? In that time, yeah.
I think also thinking about it with Youth Week, like, maybe saying how it's kind of its own thing. Everybody was a kid once. Everyone was at one point a youth who was spoken down to by their parents or was spoken down to by a teacher or who was put in a system where they feel like they don't fit and told they just have to wait it out until they can become an adult. And I think it's almost Youth Week is reminding all the adults of that as well, that, well, here's the youth now, you're a youth once, do you remember what it felt like? How can we make this experience for the youth of today better?
Good points. Has everyone had experiences like that when they were young and felt really, I don't know, not listened to or confined to systems and things like that didn't work for them or didn't allow them to be themselves fully?
Yeah, actually, it's like we're working now for our future, and we will get like celebrated or when we achieve things in the future. It's just like we're waiting for the achievement to celebrate, but we're not celebrating ourselves during working on that, on ourselves and getting busy with everything. So it's good to have this celebration too, and this Youth Week, just to remind that youth have value and they are appreciated, and like engaging. It's just like a way of engaging them to remember how to highlight their achievements and see how they are improving, and like just a good reminder.
No, 100%. I remember listening to, at TEDx Youth Paparangi last year, Nishka did a really cool speech on small success. And when I think about that whole idea, you're talking about how we set up a society, you have a dream goal and you'll spend your entire life aiming to achieve that, whether it be your dream job, whether it be getting this achievement, whether it be finding the love of your life or something like that. Like, everyone has a different path. And then when you get there, what are you supposed to do? Like, have you spent your entire youth, this time you're supposed to spend making those relationships and developing? Were none of that successes? Was that not you winning every day? And I think it's so tough. Like, when I think of all the jobs I want to do, I'm going to need, like, to get my dream job, I need, 40 years of experience? Like, to be a diplomat or something? Like, so is all the work I'm doing now worth nothing? I think that's what Youth Week is, like, completely going against. It's that notion of our youth are in that waiting stage. Our youth are only in limbo. And while I think we know we're growing, we know we're developing, but we're not just waiting to get older.
Beautiful thoughts. I think Carlos. I was remembering a lot from, I think, brilliant points about at least for me, like at school, a lot of teachers kind of all the emphasis was like, you need to invest now in your future. Like those ideas of, if you work really hard now, then one day you can be something. If you put in all the mahi, then your life will be good in the future. But again, no celebration on kind of now, and no celebration on just everything that you guys said of even the idea in a small way of you're enough now, even though you're not a diplomat, or even though don't have all the beautiful things that hopefully you one day will have in life. Life is still beautiful now, and even if you're not, we never finish. It's like there is no perfect human, and there is no success that means we're done in life and we just resign now. It's like we're always learning more, we're always growing, and I think recognize the beauty and the celebration that we do have in our lives, wherever that is really valuable, but especially for youth, and especially, I agree, in that stage. Have you ever had any experiences like that, Carlos, where I know you felt like teachers are kind of like, oh, one day you'll be great, but now, just work harder, basically.
Yeah, I feel like our whole life we've just been told, like, work hard now, and then when you're like, it'll be hard now, it'll be easy in the future.
Yep.
Rather than, have fun now, in the future you'll suffer, or, But like, I feel like it's whatever you do, what you, like how you said, you're never actually finished. So the whole way, your whole life is just that journey. So make the most of like the whole journey rather than the end part or the end point, because it's like majority of your life.
And also there's always different, like, there's different joys and there's different challenges at every age, and it's like whether you're 15 or 50, and like there's various scales and images that you can see, like, when you're like, there's a triangle of like study, what is it? Study, sleep, social life, and you can only choose two, and things like that. And various ones of those are like,
It really does feel like that, suddenly at moments. I actually had a debate last week for a Premier Debate, and it was about whether we regret the glorification of living a long life.
ooh,
You get real fun ones when you get up there in the grades, because obviously we're in a hypothetical stage of debate. And it was kind of thinking about, and the other side took a stance I didn't really expect them to, because I never, when we're thinking about life, we are saying, when you think about, are we looking at as there's some age to achieve and that our goal should be to live as long as possible? Like, is that the whole point of this journey we're on? And I think there was actually some fundamental difference in how the debaters across the table viewed what is worthy in life. And they were saying, because we were saying we did regret the glorification, and they were saying, well, without this glorification in the end of long life, what do people have to live for? Like, people are only going to strive for success in their early years, because then there's nothing for them later in life. They're not going to have this idea that they're going to be great down the road. I'm like, do you think all your merits are based on how old you are or how far you get? I thought it was really interesting that we as a society have that fundamental just difference of what is important. And I think we had a ton of team talks earlier in the year about the definition of success. And I think it comes down to that, especially for our youth. It's so important that we look at how success is different for everyone. And for Youth Week, with so many different events across so many different things, across climate change, across building community, across making change, across making friends, that kind of stuff, everyone has a different version of what being young and being successful is going to look like. And Youth Week is about celebrating all of that all together. It's just so cool. I love Youth Week so much.
I feel like that's what satisfaction is, you know. After all you said, is the satisfaction is the key of things, or I'm not sure how to put this in a nice sentence, but
No, but you mean satisfaction is the key. My problem is I'm very bad at being satisfied. I think I think that depends on who you are as a person. Because I think you're right that satisfaction, the feeling fulfilled, is what important. But then you have people who are always going to be running, always chasing that next thing, which is also valid.
It's also depend on the expectation of life, you know, your expectation and then the satisfaction came together.
Yeah, and some people grow up with different environments,
Yes,
different expectations of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I agree. I think it's an interesting idea of like, what are some of the successes almost, or celebrating the things you can be satisfied and really take advantage of for youth specifically, and that youth have that no one else has from some degree, or maybe to lesser degrees. Like, if your definition of success is just how many achievements you have in your lifetime in terms of whether that's, I don't know, work achievements or social justice achievements or academic achievements, then of course the longer you live, the more opportunities you have to be achieved, and you will therefore be more successful as a 60-year-old or as a 90-year-old or whatever when you've lived your entire life and, you know, had the opportunity to make many achievements. But if instead you could hold them side by side, but you could have a definition of success like that, but also a definition of success as fulfilling relationships, or even just creativity and energetic ideas, in which case maybe you've achieved a lot in your lifetime as a 60-year-old, but you don't necessarily have the creativity or the optimism or the positivity or the contentedness with minimalism, or contentedness with life as it is, maybe in the same way. And so I guess valuing kind of maybe the unique traits or qualities that youth have more than other age groups could be one way of kind of almost bringing equality to society and being like, what is the uniqueness of youth and how can we celebrate that as opposed to other stuff.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that it is very interesting to look at that. What is that thing that youth have? Why is the reason we have Youth Week? Why is the reason we have youth advisory groups for most organisations and businesses, and that every group needs a youth representative? Why is that? And I think it's way more relevant in the last 10 or 15 years than it has been before, with how quickly changing the generation is. Like, like obviously every decade brings a new batch of youth with different ideals, different societal pressures pushed onto them. But when you look at the digital age and how the social media landscape affects everything, our youth change so quickly in a way that I don't think the older generations are actually able to fully grasp. And that's why I think it's so critical that we let our youth have those platforms, as you were talking about before, to speak, to dissect, to analyse together what makes up our generation, what is the culture of our time. That kind of stuff is so important. I mean, I can barely talk to my 13-year-old brother. His language is already completely different from mine. His meme culture is very different from mine. And it's changing so much. And I think that's why youth leadership from all ages is important. I was on student council in primary school, and that meant so much to me. And even giving that credit and giving that opportunity so young, because they do have ideas and they just don't have the opportunity to act on them, as you were talking about before. And they just need that platform, that access.
Has it meant much to you, youth leadership in your life, Carlos? Maybe you won't give the opportunity, that's all right.
I feel like just growing up, I haven't really taken up any opportunities, or even thought about it.
Because I remember, what is it, that when you did the Assyrian dance teaching or the teaching last year? That was so cool.
Yeah. So that's why recently, especially last year, because it's just after all of that, especially coming to the end of high school, you realize you're not going to get back this age being in your youth years. So I've been trying to, but before that I've just never really thought about it, really cared, to be honest. And last year, yeah, I think that was the first thing, the thing that just made me want to start getting involved in things, and actually want to do more, because it's not forever. It's going to end really soon, and after this, we're not going to be youth anymore.
Well, we're still
I'm an adult in 2 weeks. That's a bit mind-blowing. But yeah, I think, and we always, I remember my very first youth talk, we talked about the definition of youth. 12 to 24 is now what we say. Right? But no, I think it's so interesting. It's so interesting that you talked about you never thought about leadership before. Did you still feel like your voice had impact in the spaces you were in?
It depends on the space, because I mean, of course, around especially at school, because majority of our life is at school currently. Not really.
Yeah.
Because unless you are involved in something, you're kind of just there, and you don't really get hurt. But it depends on the setting, because of course, around your family, around things like that, where some people are more family based in their life, you do feel like you might have a bigger voice around your family. You're more sorry.
I feel like you raise, at least for me, really, really interesting points in terms of, I guess, similar to Women's Day, is it really raises for me, I guess, the idea of Youth Week is kind of trying to bring youth into these spaces, from my perspective, because the systems aren't serving our youth, versus if you're in systems and Indigenous systems, for instance, they don't, a lot of them don't have specific democratic, we need this young person to be stepping up to this leadership role, because they just listen to each other, and there's a lot of there's a lot of patterns of lifestyle that already take into account what do our future generations need, how can we look after them, rather than kind of being I'm the adult, I'm the leader, so I'm going to take all the resources and make sure there's none left for anyone else. That just doesn't work. But so at least in New Zealand, there's a lot of emphasis, I think, on Youth Week, especially recently, because there's more of a recognition that actually youth haven't been heard and you aren't being heard.
Yeah.
But if the systems are serving you well already, or are serving youth, then there wouldn't be a need for Youth Week. And so it's kind of an interesting one from your experience. And I hope, and maybe like in some of the environmental actions that were happening in your primary school, maybe that was going okay, and they were looking after you, and you know they didn't need the spaces, but maybe we still do. I don't know.
I was going to say, switching hats to something I think you can relate to a bit more. I do a lot of work in the Presbyterian church space, and I'm probably going to General Assembly this year as one of their youth people that they have to bring and pay to go each year because they need their youth voice. And I think especially in those I think of religion as quite fundamentalist, or at least most of the ones we have in New Zealand that are quite prominent. And there's all that focus on age, and being an elder is such an important thing. And so there's definitely that line where I don't find in lots of other spaces I'm in, like in all my activist spaces, being youth is a advantage. It is your way in, that passion, that fire you have is super acknowledged. When I shift into the religion space, you must respect your elders, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's a lot about valuing that experience, that merit. But then when I want to bring change into the church, you want to bring change, you often hit a wall. Do you find that within the church especially? Or do you have a different experience?
To be honest, I feel like at church, because I mean, I don't really go to church.
Or just religion.
But yeah, definitely, like, even at just Assyrian school, just being there, it's just because the people teaching us aren't even that much older. Like, they were like uni students when we were just entering high school. But it's just like you have to obviously look up to them, and it's what they say. It's not really what you want. But then we started, obviously, we didn't really like it. So they did ask us, like, what do you guys want? What do you guys want so you can actually start coming to Assyrian school? And because obviously we did Assyrian school at our church. So they wanted to know what, like, we actually wanted rather than what the adults thought we wanted, what the priest thought we wanted, because obviously he doesn't know what we want. We know what we want. So I do feel like...
No, that's amazing.
I do feel like they did really give us that opportunity. They always ask us, like, and even I started going to the youth group at our church a couple times, but didn't really have time anymore. But they... literally the first few times I went there, all they wanted was just like, they gave us a piece of paper, write down what you want to do, what would make you want to start coming. Because we don't really have a big community, but they want to get that small community together. So I feel like they did really well with the getting people together just by knowing what they want, which I think is...
You can use that for Youth Week in the world, yeah.
Yes, I think body should be doing that everywhere. I mean, that's not even a Youth Week thing. If you have people and you want them to come to your thing and you want them to attend and you want them to tune in and engage, you should be asking them what they want, right?
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, I think that switched the whole thing.
And I think one organisation that does that really great is Voice of Aroha. No, I think volunteer organisations are usually pretty good with it as well.
Well, I feel like we have a much better understanding of Youth Week and why it's important and why it matters. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for a lovely, lovely chat. Does anyone have any last thoughts before we...
I want to, sorry, I did not mention that at all. But before Youth Week, you were asking us what we want for Youth Week, which I think is great. Like, the cultural night we're planning next week, or next Saturday, that was all planned by.
And we should do a shout out to, thank you, Carlos, and thank you for feeding into your ideas. We should do a shout out for Meg's amazing Youth Week ideas that she gave last year that led to us going to Newlands College and to Victoria University and asking youth all sorts of things just about their lives and their thoughts on the world and for our Youth Week. So I guess that's the beauty as well of Youth Week, is when you give youth a platform and then seeing them step up and seeing the change happen from these ideas is just the most beautiful, wonderful, exciting thing. So shout out to all the you guys and for coming along and contributing your voices.
Yeah, should we do I think Carlos, we should do a rundown of what's on this Youth Week.
It'll be post, so I hope
It'll
you've all
be
enjoyed
post.
Youth Week, but we can still celebrate all the wonderful things that have
We
happened.
can
this week
celebrate.
and
What
hear
things do
about
we
them
know
next
is
year.
on? We know we've got Cultural Night.
Cultural Night.
I'm going to try so hard to come to that. I probably can't. Then we've got what else have we got on? Why for Climate is Saturday the 24th of May, starting sometime in the morning till
10
sometime
a.m. to 2 p.m.?
later.
Like that.
Something like that. And then is Cultural Night
Culture
right
night,
after that.
6 p.m. to
Same day.
9 p.m. But we'll already passed. But it was an amazing time, amazing boogie.
Yes, retroactively, we had an amazing time when you're seeing us. Is there anything else anyone knows of?
Check the calendar and Instagram as well. On the
I will check the
yeah.
calendar.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone had an amazing Youth Week. We will have an amazing Youth Week, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do we want to do our lasting quote for the viewers?
Yeah.
I'm
like
so
that one.
excited to celebrate you guys.
Oh, you're still Youth Sahar. We can celebrate you too.
I kicked out before. I'm kicked out. So no,
You're
no.
Youth in my heart.
Thank you, Meg. That's so nice, so kind.
Okay. Do you have a message for the viewers for the week?
Me?
Carlos and Pudding.
I hope you guys had a good youth week.
Yes,
Enjoy life while you're young.
Yes.
good one.
Celebrate your small successes this week. If you went for a longer walk than usual or you got some fresh air, even that is a good thing. I sometimes forget that when I'm in my little studying hole, that even the little things you get done that are out of your routine, that aren't normal for you, are a good success, and you should celebrate that.
I will just end up with this. Happy youth, happy life.
True.
Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed and look forward to seeing you soon. Ka kite.
Ka kite.